Hello everyone, as always I am Cosmic and today I'm giving my first impressions to Epic Games' upcoming third-person MOBA, Paragon. Now Paragon is currently in early development, so please be aware that everything that you see here is subject to change. Now in the run-up to the game, many people have been saying that it's Gears of War meets League of Legends, but it isn't. Paragon has more in common with Smite than it does with anything else, and while the visuals are very impressive, the core mechanics of the game are somewhat disappointingly conservative when comparing it to its successful competitors. Now Paragon is your classic 5v5, 3 lanes, jungles, minions, towers, cores MOBA. The aim of the game is to destroy the enemy's core before they destroy yours. Where Paragon is unique in my opinion is in its level design. Epic have added verticality to the genre that is a traditionally flat genre. Levels are designed with multiple paths, high and low, for characters to run, jump and ambush others from. If the first map and only map currently in the early access is any indication of maps to come, then the level design for the final game should be phenomenal. The high vantage points allow ranged characters to shoot from on high and give speedy stealth characters multiple ways to flank and disrupt the other team. This verticality is probably one of Paragon's biggest selling points, and as many of the characters' abilities can be used to great effect by using the environment at the right time. There are over a dozen characters available to play in Paragon right now, and they have a nice mix of ranged and melee roles, from Steel, the tank character, to Twin Blast, a ranged DPS. All of the characters have an interesting mix of abilities and ultimate moves. However, there's nothing that stands out in terms of uniqueness other than the aesthetic of the game. The roles of each character are classic MOBA stuff, and I was hoping that there would be something new and different in the character design. Some characters have abilities that can be used very effectively in combination with the vertical levels of the game. However, I would have liked to see the level design really be even more present in abilities, such as perhaps having increased damage to ranged units when they have a height advantage. Paragon also tries to distinguish itself from other MOBAs by having a deck card system in place rather than an in-game item shop as its progression. Players can build decks with cards from packs awarded from gameplay, as well as no doubt purchasing with real money in the future. These decks have a variety of equipment and power-up cards that can be purchased in battle via card points. It's not that different from an item shop in terms of the mechanics of how you use it, but the true difference comes in the fact that it has a ton more preparation and experimentation that can actually be done before a match even takes place. You are given a lot more freedom to build a character how you want by crafting your own unique character deck. I really like the deck system, and I think that it appeals to all kinds of MOBA players, both hardcore and casual. However, I do see one fatal flaw in the system. Games like Dota 2 often have best builds when it comes to their item stores, and I feel that while the purpose of a card deck system is to make progression more open, what will actually end up happening in the game is that the meta will come down to having a few must-have decks. It will become almost Hearthstone-esque in its development, with a few select decks trumping others outright, which will directly affect the matches whether the players have a high skill level or not. Epic have a real tough job on their hands making sure that this metagame doesn't play out the way that I think it's going to, and to be honest, from past experiences with all kind of card deck systems, this is ultimately a fatal flaw in nearly every card system's design. Actual matches can last upwards of an hour. I think the shortest match I played was around 30 minutes, and a highly contested match usually took around an hour. I find the gameplay to be a lot of fun. I think that the one major drawback I personally have with it is that it seems very slow. I feel that Epic have tried to weight the game almost like a Gears of War game, making the movements a lot more slower than other MOBAs, which in turn I don't really like how slow the movement feels. Even when you're sprinting, it still feels really weighted, really sluggish, and I feel that that hampers the game's enjoyment in a lot of different ways, particularly even when you're playing a speedy stealth character. I still feel that I'm going slow, and I still feel that I'm going to struggle to dodge attacks, and ultimately it just makes the whole thing feel very sluggish. From an aesthetical standpoint, the game really can't be faulted. It has great sound, it has great visual effects, and the graphics overall are sublime. The game runs pretty well even in this early state, with a couple of problems here or there, but actually the majority of the problems that I found were actually in the menu system before the match began. I very rarely found a problem in the actual matches themselves. I like the fact that there is a lot of skill play involved in the actual combat. However, like I said, I do worry that once people really get to grips with the card system, that is going to affect the skills in somewhat, because people are just going to have better decks than other people, and it's going to come down to who has the better deck and who has the must-have deck, and then ultimately they are going to do a hell of a lot more damage and take a lot more damage than you as an inexperienced player will. I think ultimately what I'm most disappointed with Paragon is that it is a MOBA in its truest sense, in that it doesn't, apart from the verticality of the levels, which is great, I don't think the verticality is particularly fleshed out enough in terms of how it affects the other sides of the game. I'm disappointed that they went really conservative in the idea that, you have 3 lanes: jungles, minions, towers, cores. There's nothing particularly new involved. I would really like it if future maps would have something different, maybe objective-based play, something a little bit unique that really stands out from the rest of the crowd, because ultimately, yes, at the moment it is shaping up to be a very good third-person MOBA. If you actually get to grips with the game, you like the deck system, you like the actual movement, even though it's a little bit slow. If this is your kind of thing, then you probably will like it. However, for me, as a person who likes to go into MOBAs and play casually for a while, there's nothing in here to keep me here over something like Smite or Dota 2 or League of Legends. There's no real big draw for me here, and I would really like something that just has a little bit of uniqueness in the mechanics of the game that make me want to play Paragon over something else. I think overall my first impressions of Paragon are very good. It looks great, it plays great. While I subjectively don't like some of the things, I think that from an objective standpoint it is a very solid game so far. For me personally, I would like to see more. I would like to see something a bit different. However, I think that if you are looking for a straight up classic third-person MOBA and you like the idea of the level design being more vertical than other games, then I think that Paragon is going to be right up your street. I think that it does appeal to a lot of players, but I worry about the card system, like I've said. But it will be interesting to see how Epic deal with the metagame and how they progress through development. And it will be very interesting to see what the other maps are going to be like and if they change the way the game's going to be played. Because the map that is in at the moment is a very traditional MOBA map that you would go in there having played Dota 2 for a while, and if you've never played Paragon before, you will know exactly what to do. And I'll be really interested to see if they try and really expand upon that level design in future maps. So that's my first impressions of Paragon. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Do like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will see you next time.